The hegemony had ruled for 3,000 years with an iron fist wrapped in the velvet glove of technological supremacy. Their crystalline spires pierced the skies of 1,000 conquered worlds, each one a monument to the systematic subjugation of every sentient species they had encountered. The Vorthak, as they called themselves, considered slavery not just profitable, but a natural law of the universe. Commander Thexara stood on the observation deck of the massive orbital station above Earth, watching the blue marble spin lazily below. This latest acquisition had been almost disappointingly easy. The humans had barely achieved interstellar flight when the hegemony's advanced scouts found them. Their primitive weapons and fragmented governments offered no real resistance to the Vorthak's energy shields and neural control collars. Another successful integration, Thexara mused to his aide, a 6-armed Calarian whose own species had been enslaved centuries ago. These humans show promising physical capabilities. Their endurance metrics are quite impressive. The aide's mandibles clicked nervously. Yes, Commander, though the psychological profiles indicate unusual, stubborn traits. Thexara dismissed the concern with a wave of his clawed hand. Every species thinks itself special. The neural collars will correct their defiance soon enough. What the Vorthak didn't understand was that humans had spent millennia enslaving each other before the aliens arrived. They had intimate knowledge of every form of bondage, psychological manipulation, and systematic oppression. More importantly, they had also perfected the art of breaking free. The first sign of trouble came from mining station Kappa 7 in the asteroid belt. The human slaves had supposedly suffered a technical malfunction that resulted in the death of their Vorthak overseer. Security footage showed nothing but static during the crucial moments. Unfortunate accident, reported Station Commander Veloth. The humans claim their primitive tools caused an unexpected energy feedback. Similar accidents began occurring with increasing frequency across the Sol system. Overseers fell into mining shafts, were caught in malfunctioning machinery, or suffered mysterious poisoning from contaminated rations. The humans always appeared genuinely surprised and devastated by these tragedies. Dr. Sarah Chen had been Earth's leading expert in cybernetic interfaces before the invasion. Now collar around her neck like every other human, she worked in the hegemony's research facilities. But the Vorthak had made a critical error. They assumed their neural control technology was beyond human comprehension. Sarah had been studying the collars for months, mapping their signal patterns during her assigned sleep cycles when the control intensity was reduced. The Vorthak neural architecture was elegant but predictable, like a beautiful crystal lattice, and Sarah knew that perfect crystals always had perfect fracture points. She wasn't working alone. Captain Marcus Rodriguez, formerly of the United Earth Defense Corps, had been assigned to manual labor. The Vorthak saw only his physical strength, not recognizing the tactical genius that had made him humanity's youngest fleet commander. He had spent his enslavement identifying security weaknesses and recruiting key personnel from among the human slaves. Lieutenant Commander Yuki Tanaka, the former head of Earth's intelligence services, now scrubbed floors in the command center. Her meek demeanor perfectly concealed the fact that she was memorizing guard rotations, communication protocols, and the behavioral patterns of every Vorthak officer. The hegemony's greatest strength was also its fatal weakness: absolute centralization. Every neural collar, every security system, every communication array across their 1,000 worlds connected back to the central nexus on their homeworld of Vorthak Prime. They had created a galactic nervous system with themselves as the brain. Sarah's breakthrough came during her 247th day of enslavement. She discovered that human neural patterns could create a cascading feedback loop in the collar's circuits if properly synchronized. Not enough to destroy the device, but sufficient to create a momentary gap in the control signal. A window of perhaps 3 seconds of true free will. 3 seconds was enough. The rebellion began simultaneously across every world in the hegemony. Sarah's carefully coded signal, disguised as a routine maintenance update, propagated through the central nexus in microseconds. For exactly 3 seconds, every neural collar in the galaxy experienced a synchronized failure. In those 3 seconds, Captain Rodriguez's combat instincts reasserted themselves. His hands found the throat of his Vorthak overseer before his higher brain functions even registered the temporary freedom. In those 3 seconds, Lieutenant Commander Tanaka accessed the security console she had been cleaning and uploaded a virus that would take hours to detect, but would ultimately cripple the hegemony's surveillance network. In those 3 seconds, billions of human slaves across 1,000 worlds remembered who they were, but humans had learned patience during their centuries of internal conflicts. They didn't reveal their momentary freedom. Instead, they used those brief seconds to plant seeds, weapons hidden in storage compartments, communication networks established through seemingly random work assignments, key infrastructure mapped and marked for sabotage. The Vorthak noticed nothing. After all, what could primitive humans accomplish in 3 seconds? The answer came 6 months later, during the hegemony's annual victory celebration, when every Vorthak official gathered on Vorthak Prime to commemorate another year of successful oppression. Sarah triggered the second pulse. This time, the humans were ready. Across the galaxy, simultaneously, the enslaved rose up. Not in the chaotic, emotional uprising the Vorthak expected from primitive species, but in a coordinated military operation that would have impressed Sun Tzu himself. Power plants exploded. Communication arrays went silent. Weapon stockpiles fell into human hands. Most critically, the central nexus itself came under assault as human maintenance workers revealed their true purpose. Thexara watched in horror from his command ship as his perfect empire crumbled in hours. How? He demanded of his terrified aide. How did they coordinate across 1,000 worlds? The answer came from Dr. Sarah Chen, now standing free in the ruins of the research facility, her collar sparking uselessly around her neck. She looked up at the orbital stations and spoke into a commandeered communication array, her words carrying across the galaxy to every Vorthak who could still receive them. "You made one mistake," she said, her voice carrying the cold fury of a species that had intimate knowledge of oppression. "You assumed that because we hadn't reached your level of technology, we hadn't reached your level of cunning. You forgot that we didn't need to invent neural control devices because we've been breaking minds for millennia. We wrote the textbook on systematic oppression, and more importantly, we wrote the sequel on how to tear it all down. The hegemony fell not in years or months, but in days. Their centralized structure, designed to maintain perfect control, became the perfect vulnerability. When humans seized the central nexus, they didn't just free themselves. They freed every enslaved species in the galaxy. The liberation was swift, but the reckoning was just beginning. Humanity had broken more than chains. They had shattered the galaxy's backbone of organized oppression. In its place, they helped forge something the galaxy had never seen: a confederation of truly free worlds, united not by conquest, but by the shared memory of slavery and the collective determination that it would never happen again. The former, slaves, became the guardians of freedom, and the humans who had learned both tyranny and liberation became their teachers. The galaxy would never be enslaved again, not while the children of Earth remembered the weight of chains and the sweet, terrible price of breaking free.